Welcome back to JB Reviews. I have done some upgrades to my 2024 GMC Sierra 2500 AT4X. My friend Ben talked me into this. I had no intentions of doing this stuff, but you know, he made some compelling arguments to me. He did. And I did a little bit of research. And one thing I will tell you is I am a fan of Banks power, because when I had my Ram 3500, just before I traded it in, I almost bought the Monster intake upgrade for that truck. So I definitely understand this company. They do a lot when it comes down to engineering, especially on the Duramax. So they released these parts for the Gen 1 L5P. This is the Gen 2. They bolt right up. I've done some install videos with my friend Josh, and he's actually done some installs on his channel too. I'll pretty much link his video or his channel here for you guys. But I'm gonna be brutally honest on this Banks Power upgrade, because they did not give these parts to me for free. I actually purchased them. So I'm entitled to give you guys my humble and honest opinion in this video, and that's what I'm gonna do. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna pop the hood. I want my truck to warm up because I haven't driven it in a few days, but since I've done the upgrades, I have driven about 1,000 miles, so I have a better understanding of what I'm feeling and the upgrades. So let's go ahead and talk about it. All right, so starting on this side here, you guys will probably see a little bit of red. There it is. This is the cold side for the boost tube. This is the hot side. There's two tubes, one there. You could probably see one further down in there, and then of course the inlet is like right there. You can't really see it, it's really tucked in, but you can probably see an A right there, I think. So when it comes down to installation, the cold side boost tube, super easy to get in there. My friend did not have to take out the fender liner. I actually did this side by myself because I watched him do it on my friend's truck, Ben. He and I did it at the same time. Josh was able to do it on his truck. I did mine on this side. This side was super easy, and actually if you have the right tools, the turbo inlet is super easy. You don't have to remove the compressor and a few of the things that they say. There is a nut that you will have to cut down. That would have taken me probably 30 minutes to an hour to figure out how to cut it down clean and not, of course, break something else. Josh did it in like 30 seconds. So the turbo inlet, super easy. Now this side, the hot side, this one's a little harder because you have to obviously put together two tubes, and then you have these rubber hoses and these clamps that you have to make sure are super tight but not too tight. So in order to get the hot side in, you will have to take out the liner in the fender well, and you don't have to take out the ECM and unplug and all that stuff. You can actually leave it in there. Josh was able to maneuver it in there very easily. He's a master for tech, so hey, I had him do mine. If I had to do this by myself, this would have taken me 5 hours, if not more. Just being honest here. This is not easy. One of the biggest things you have to look for, those clamps have to be very tight, but not too tight that you bend the pipe, but tight enough to where you don't have them come off, because a few guys online had mentioned, quite a few guys actually too, had admitted that their pipes came undone because they didn't have them tight enough, and you have to have enough slack. I don't know how to explain it. So where these two pipes come together, you have to make sure there's enough of a lip in there, that way they don't come undone or you have any leaks. So Josh doing this for me was super fun, because watching him do it, it looks so easy, but if you had to do it by yourself in your driveway, you have to have more than just a basic level of a mechanic mind. I think you would have to probably have done stuff like this in the past. Like I've had Subarus that I've done modifications on like this. So I could have done it, but it would take me a lot longer than what it took Josh. So here's why I decided to do these upgrades. My friend, like I said, talked me into at least considering them. And so if you guys don't remember, I took my truck off-road, and something that I noticed that I was shocked by actually was just how muddy these hoses got. So this is the hot side boost tube. Now on the top, they do give you this stainless steel construction right there, but do you guys see how muddy this hose is? So in other words, under a hot engine, this rubber over time is going to break down. And do you guys notice when I put it back in the box, you guys see how it's flexed like this? So it has kind of taken on a new form as well. So hot, cold, depending on your climate, this might be something you want to do to your truck if you plan on keeping it long term, because if you live in climates like here in Utah where it gets really hot and then it gets really cold, you're gonna probably see a lot of wear on these hoses. So for me, I was like, you know, after seeing all this mud on this hose, I was actually kind of happy I did this install, because if mud's able to get on there as you're driving down the road and it's raining, that's gonna be able to get on there. Of course, if you have an area where you get a lot of snow, they put salt on the road, that's gonna get on there. And like I said, the temperature increase and decrease. And this rubber is not a high quality, in my humble opinion. I mean, look at it. It's not that thick, right? Not thick at all. And it's very flimsy. And remember, this truck makes a lot of power. See, the manufacturers, and this is something that Josh told me, sometimes they do things like this so that in the future, if they want to make more power, then all you have to do is upgrade these hoses. So that's basically what I did on this truck. I basically upgraded my engine to have and make more power in the future, and then on top of that, make more consistent power. Do you guys see the size of this pipe? Okay, check it out here. This is a 3.5-inch pipe, and the one from the factory is 2.5. Anytime you increase the volume of air going into the turbo, your boost is going to come on a lot quicker. Something else to consider as well is anytime you have more volume of air going into your turbo, into your engine, because your inlet is a lot bigger as well, you're going to have lower temperature. So something that I like about Banks is, and this is something I've known in the past, I've heard of turbo surge quite a lot. As I said, I owned a Legacy GT from 2005. I probably had about 450 to 480 horsepower crank coming out of there. And turbo surge is something that is talked about a lot. Now, this is a plastic construction, right? I don't see this ever breaking down over the course of 10 years, but I would say 15, 20 years, this could get brittle over time, because plastic does do that. When you change to a more solid construction, and then when you increase the volume of air, you're gonna have a more happier turbo. And if you don't know what turbo surge is, it's basically interference on the compressor, basically, on the compressor wheel inside the turbo. And of course, that's gonna affect how your truck performs. I can't explain it as good as Gail Banks does, so I'll put some stuff right here from the website. But what I can tell you is the truck definitely does perform a lot better. Now let's talk about the noise that this engine makes. Does it make any noise? Let's talk about it. There is no notable sound increase from the turbo inlet and of course the boost tubes. You wouldn't hear any difference from the boost tubes, but the turbo inlet, there's no sound difference. If I were to install an intake before the turbo inlet, I would have an audible sound upgrade. And I think that if I had the upgraded intake with the turbo inlet, well, I think I would get just a little bit more sound out of it. You would hear probably a little bit more of a whistle. But because you have the stock intake system on this truck, that's going to pretty much baffle any sound upgrades from this stuff that I have done to my truck. So the turbo inlet, if you're looking for it to be a little bit louder, you're not going to get that with a stock intake. Whenever they do, and I don't know if I'll even do it, but if they do have a intake upgrade in the future from Banks, maybe I will consider it and just see if that is true from what I said. Now, I'm not going to take off my turbo inlet, but I'm willing to bet you if you just added the intake and then a year later added the turbo inlet, you would probably get a noticeable sound increase. But having the stock one, they build it and construct it in such a way where it's not there to make noise. So where are you going to see most of your improvements? So I'm going to go from 35 and I'm going to go wide open throttle. All right, you ready? Here it is. So the biggest improvement I saw was in the mid-range. So when you hit the gas, the boost just comes on like this now. In the past, it was a gradual build, and then it would just kind of just hit. But now it's probably coming on a second or so faster, maybe even 2 seconds faster in some instances. It depends on the speed you're going. And when you hit it again, I wish there was a boost gauge, but you can tell that having the stronger construction, there's no loss in the boost. And you can clearly tell that every time you hit the gas. It's very consistent, and that's what you're gonna get out of this setup. If you idle your truck and it gets really hot under the engine, I don't think that there's a difference in the loss of power. In the past, when I've had my truck idle, either I'm hooking up to a trailer and then I'm pulling off, I can definitely tell there's a little bit of heat soak in the engine, and that it does affect the overall boost. But until next year, I'll have to do a repost on the performance of this when it gets up to 110 degrees again, and then I'll be able to know. But what I can tell you is from a dig, like now, did you guys hear my tires just actually spun? That's something new from this truck. I've never been able to spin my wheels on this truck, so it kind of confirms what I just said. Because the boost comes on a lot quicker and stronger every time, it actually does give you a noticeable performance gain because of that. So having the stronger construction, having the more volume of air, is a no-brainer. It's a duh moment. You're gonna absolutely have a difference in how the truck performs. And that's kind of why I did this, because I know that having a stronger construction means long-term reliability. And because Gail Banks has done his research on the turbo surge, and he's built the turbo inlet in such a way where it reduces that, and also should help increase the life of your turbo, there should be some reliability built in. Now, here's some of my dislikes. I don't like the fact that red is the only color for the boost tubes. I wish I could have gotten black. I personally don't like red, and the reason why is it looks ricey under the hood. I'm just being honest, it just looks a little ricey. It just does. But as I said earlier in the video, the cost. You're gonna pay for this stuff, but obviously, as I said, the advantages actually outweigh the cost, in my opinion, especially if you keep your truck long term. I think that if I were to sell my truck in the future, I think that they would actually be a bonus for someone, and I could even get a little bit more money for my truck if I sell it privately. So I hope this was helpful. I do have a code in the description below. So if you were thinking about purchasing these upgrades, it would give you a 10% discount. And yeah, like I said, what you're gonna get out of this package is consistency on the boost. I mean, it just comes on instant. There's no delay, there's no gradual build. It's just instant boost, instant torque. I can't wait to tow. I'm already betting that I'm probably gonna increase the mile an hour just a little bit more, because that boost is gonna come a lot quicker, which gets me up to speed a little bit faster. So yes, I think that if you're in the market, Banks is one of the best out there. You don't have to take my word for it. Just go on the forums. Like, go on Duramax forum, go on Cummins forum, and search Banks. You're not going to have anyone say anything negative, because everyone knows Gail Banks, and they know that he's built engines in the past. Everyone knows he knows what he's talking about. And I almost forgot, MPG. So I'm still driving it like I stole it, and I'm still getting 14 MPG. So I'm willing to bet you're gonna see a decent increase in fuel economy. And maybe what I'll do is I'll do a fuel economy run sometime this month or next month, because I actually got my truck in October of last year. I have 15,000 miles on it. And so basically, right, I'm doing a fuel economy run around the same time I did it last year. So with the 15,000 miles, that's probably going to help the engine to get better fuel economy. But I'm willing to bet you guys, you're going to probably see about 1 to 2 MPG difference in how the truck performs. See you guys soon.